nervous because I'm here now.
Hey guys, welcome into another episode of 410 Sports Talk. I'm James Haskell, along with my co-host Glenn Martin and friend and frequent to the show, Tony Thornton. Tony, how are you?
Man, I'm doing well, coming off of a winning week and looking forward to Monday night. But also, it's good to be with you guys tonight. Thank you, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Like always, we enjoy having you on. We're going to preview the Ravens-Browns matchup. Like you said, that big Monday night game. I think that it's fair to say that this is probably the game of the week. Definitely in our eyes, and I think in a lot of others folks' eyes, around the league. So without any further ado, let's just dig into it here. So I'm going to start with, Glenn, I'm going to have you start off with some health as far as the Ravens go, and we'll dig into health for a little bit, and then we'll move on from there.
All right, let's do it. So the Ravens have some faces returning to the practice field. Obviously, the COVID situation is allowing some players to trickle back onto the practice field. So it's nice to see Matt Judon back in the practice field and the front seven getting healthier. As far as not practicing for the Ravens, Jimmy Smith still not at practice, dealing with a groin injury. Marcus Peters also missed practice, and Tramon Williams. So a lot of starting corners, or a lot of corners playing a lot of time. All of a sudden on the injury report, have to keep an eye on that. Anthony Levine Sr. also misses practice. Broderick Washington still dealing with a concussion. You mentioned that, Jimmy. That's a few weeks ago. So he obviously must have had his bell rung pretty good. Calais Campbell misses practice with a calf. Derek Wolfe misses practice, and Pernell McPhee, and of course Des Bryant on the COVID list. He's going to miss this game as well. So it looks like we expect the Calais and Derek Wolfe to play. Is that what you're seeing, Jimmy?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So
yeah,
it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything is better than what that list was a couple weeks ago. So, this is a pretty light load. I'm feeling pretty blessed to be in the situation that we are as a Ravens fan. But I want to really quickly get over to the Browns side of things as far as health goes, just to kind of help set the table for the game. Not a very long list for them, but there are some names out there. Cadrell Hodge, the wide receiver, has a hamstring, didn't practice, and then Denzel Ward has a calf, didn't practice. And that's a big one for them. Certainly, three names here is that also are all very important to them. Their right tackle, of course, their acquisition from the Titans was limited. Jack Conklin with a knee, and then J.C. Treader, their center, who's very important for Baker Mayfield, also limited with a knee, and Jarvis Landry with that lingering hip. Limited in practice as well, and he's obviously a focal point of that offense. But either way, I think that both teams are relatively healthy now that we've kind of recovered from this pandemic for the most part, and hopefully we don't have any more outbreaks. Definitely looking forward to this matchup. I think it's going to be a really interesting one. But let's take some time really quick, and Glenn, I want you to review some stats, kind of let us know where we're at as far as us, and then also the Browns. And we'll go from there.
All right, so I'm going to go over the Browns first since they are the guest. Their offense ranks 27th in the league in passing with 2,478 yards, and they have 22 touchdowns to 7 interceptions through the air. Rushing second in the league, 1,893 yards on the ground so far this year, with 12 touchdowns. So, man, they can really, really run the football, and that's something we're going to have to key on this week. Now, as far as defensively against the pass, they're 23rd, giving up 3,083 yards. They've also given up 25 touchdowns through the air this year. So that's a big number. I mean, they're 29th in the league as far as touchdown passes. That could be this could be good for Lamar Jackson. And defensively, they're 8th in the league, giving up 1,252 yards on the ground and 11 touchdowns. So it's a team that can really run the football. Tony, when you hear me say that they are second in the league in rushing yards, does that make you a little nervous?
Oh, absolutely. With those two guys that they have, of course, Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. Nick Chubb seems to be back on track coming off of the injury that he had earlier this year. And this tandem might be the best tandem in the league in terms of that 1-2 punch. Of course, the Ravens are ranked first in rushing, but, Cleveland is right behind them. And, this tandem is certainly scary, along with their fullback as well, Janovich. They are designed to run the football up the gut, up the middle, and make moves and get into that second level. So it is very scary. That to me is the most important part of their offense at this time.
Yeah, I tell you what, if you guys ever want some amusement, go ahead and look up Nick Chubb track meet high school.
Crazy.
Just Nick Chubb is so scary now. You should see him. He's out on the blocks, looks like a grown man against boys out there running in high school. So he is definitely a different type of athlete, a different type of player, and averaging 6 a carry. And that's insane. Glenn read to me a stat earlier. I think he has 40 or so less carries than Kareem Hunt, and all in every metric, he's still doing better than him.
Yeah, he has 60 more yards, despite the fact that he has 40 less carries, and he almost has twice as many rushing touchdowns, despite the fact that he missed 4 games when he went on that. So, I mean, the guy is just, and this is, we're talking about Kareem Hunt. This isn't like we're comparing him to some schlub here. This is a guy who's averaging.
Didn't he lead the league in rushing?
Yes, a few years ago with the Chiefs, he led, and he has over 4 yards per carry this season. So he's not playing bad this year, but Chubb has just been that good, and man, that's concerning. And their offensive line's really good too. But Tony, I got a question for you. When you look, I'm going to read some standings for you, man. This looks like a pretty important game. Obviously, the Steelers are on the top, 11-1. The Chiefs 11-1. Also, I'm talking about the AFC standings, of course, because we're looking at wild card right now. And then the Bills leading their division at 9-3. And then the Colts right now lead their division at 8-4. But after that, the Browns are still ahead of the Ravens. The Dolphins are ahead of the Ravens. The Titans are ahead of them in the record book, and they hold the tiebreaker. So how big is this game when you're playing a Browns team that's just a little bit ahead of you to get that, not only that, to get closer in the overall record, but now you own the tiebreaker if you can beat them twice.
Yeah, certainly that's the key. And to beat Cleveland twice would certainly put us ahead of the game. The next 3 games after this Monday night game should be relatively easy. And when I say easy, I know it's the NFL and any week is there, but you have Jacksonville, the Giants, and the Bengals. Those are 3 winnable games for the Ravens. But this Cleveland game is sitting right there for them to be challenged. And I think that this, again, based on the playoff picture, they need to win out in order to put themselves in position. I guess the good news, if there's any, there are a couple of teams ahead of them that have to play each other. And of course, even tonight's game with the Patriots playing the Rams, you really want to kind of root for the Rams. They kind of put the Patriots out of the way, because if the Patriots win, then again, they own the tiebreaker on the Ravens if they happen to win out and we lose. So it is a situation where the Ravens must win this game on Monday night to keep pace. And I believe if they can win out, they're going to need some help, to your point. But this is a very important game on Monday night to get this team going, and to hopefully and hopefully get them in the playoffs with those 3 games in the tail end of the season. That should be relatively easy. Maybe the Giants might be more of a challenge, but we'll talk about that when that time comes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll say this as well. I feel right at home. Glenn said this a couple weeks ago. Ravens fans, welcome back, because this is where we've been for years. This is where we're custom. We're not the natural front runners. We're not those, we're not that team characteristically. So just settle on in, get the heartburn medicine, the blood pressure medicine, the Tylenol, whatever you need, because every game matters. Every snap matters. And we're here to make sure that
you started already for Baltimore.
Yeah, exactly. It's just going to, it's going to be like the NBA playoffs. It's going to be months long.
Yeah. And just as an added note, even the players feel it as well. Lamar Jackson, during his presser today, mentioned, he kept saying, win or go home. Every game he says win or go home. So his mentality, and I know that it is that way in the locker room, is that every game is a must win, even though they won't go home after this if they happen to lose. It's still a matter of their mentality, and that's what I love about this football league. But to your point, settle in. Every game is going to be what it is, and we have to root now. We can't, the team is structured the way that it is going forward. We have to now root and get this team into the playoffs.
That's right. Now let's do some peeling of the onion back and dig into this game and offer up our concerns, questions, and kind of, some of us might be more concerned than others. Sometimes we have to do a little bit of walking each other back off the ledge. But we're going to start with the offensive side of the ball. Tony, I want to pose this question to you. One of Glenn and I's concerns is around the offensive line. And the guy on the other side, Myles Garrett, is no joke, got 10.5 sacks, and I think he missed 2 games for COVID. He's absolutely incredible. I mean, just one of a kind type player, in my opinion. So of course, Orlando Brown is now the left tackle, and we don't really know whether it's going to be Tyree Phillips, Fluker. We'll probably see a mix of the two, depending on the mood of the coaches. So can Orlando Brown and whoever's going to be at right tackle handle Myles Garrett?
It's going to be a challenge, no doubt about that. I don't know if they can handle Myles Garrett. I think they're going to have to get some help on that side with maybe some sort of formation where they have Project Pat or even Luke Wilson over there kind of chip blocking a bit to kind of keep him contained. I don't think it's going to be a total, we're going to get him contained. Lamar has to be aware of that side of the line of scrimmage to make sure that he gets to where he needs to get to plant his feet and to set quickly, because Myles Garrett is no joke, certainly. I think I would prefer to see Tyree Phillips. He's been playing well as of late, even though he was on the COVID, and certainly he was hurt rather, and he came back. I thought he stepped up pretty well in this game against Dallas, and I thought the offensive line as a whole did well from a run blocking perspective. Myles Garrett will get you with that pass rush when you go back, and so that's what I'm more concerned about there, is that side of the ball. But hopefully they can use Patrick Ricard or even Luke Wilson, our new favorite guy now. He's our new guy. He can get over there and kind of help out with some of that chip blocking as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think this guy is absolutely – he's a beast, man. Myles Garrett is terrifying. I think that he's the kind of guy that keeps offensive coordinators up at night. But I agree with you. I hope it's Phillips out there. I think Phillips has the obvious higher upside than Fluker. We know who and what Fluker is. We don't really know what the ceiling is for a guy like Phillips. So I'm hoping to keep seeing him out there, because the more reps he has, the better he gets. But yeah, I think there's no doubt that Myles Garrett is going to be in the backfield for the Ravens at some point during this game. I just hope they can limit it. And I hope that, more importantly, it doesn't start to get in the head of Lamar Jackson. I hope that if he does get in the backfield, that maybe it's in the second half, because I'm worried that if he does it early, that Lamar starts to get a little bit antsy in the pocket and he stops looking down the field and starts looking for escape hatches. And that would worry me more so than even his pressure. Like, okay, he's going to get his. He's going to terrorize the quarterback on occasion, but don't let it affect your confidence. Don't let it make you have happy feet inside the pocket, and don't make it change your decision-making as a quarterback. So that's my concern.
Yeah, I'm not crazy concerned about it, only because I think, Tony, you kind of mentioned this, is that he affects you more in the passing game than the running game. And I think the running game for us is more essential. But I will say, I think that the fact that a guy, and you brought up Luke Wilson, the fact that a guy like Nick Boyle is not in this game is going to show up big time when you got a guy like Myles out there that can really make some plays.
Let me ask you a question, Jimbo.
All right, let's hear it.
Because I just mentioned when I was reading the stats that the Browns are 29th in the league against passing touchdowns. So, a lot of the critics for Lamar point to his lack of gaudy passing yardage and his lesser passing touchdowns, and it's certainly where the pace he was on last year. Can this be the kind of game when you're facing a secondary like this? You mentioned Denzel Ward is missing practice. Is this the type of team and the type of game that can kind of get this offense and this passing game back on track?
Yeah. So I have some answers to some of our questions further on down the road that I don't want to give up to, but to keep this, short and sweet and concise. Absolutely. I can't wait to see what we come up with in the red zone. Normally I would say run it. And I totally get it. But I do think we're going to see some big time players that we haven't seen for a couple weeks, make some big time plays in the red zone. So absolutely, this feels like a get back game as far as passing in the red zone.
Well, Tony, let me ask you, how much will, I guess, Mark Andrews and Willie Snead go to help make that happen?
Well, there is no doubt about it that these are his go-to guys. We saw that even prior to the injuries and the COVID that came to pass, where these two guys, Andrews and Snead, really were Lamar's go-to. And we saw how effective that they were in their passing game the first 5 to 6 weeks of the season. I fully anticipate them getting back into the fold and doing the same things, especially Andrews. I think Lamar was very excited today about him coming back and really being a big part of the offense. I thought that Miles Boykin did well. Again, it was good to see him. I don't know if he's still going to be part of the mix in terms of what Lamar is going to be looking for. I thought Bryant would have been nice to play in this game. That's another story for a different day. But again, I think with Snead back, Snead gives him that slot guy that he can just count on to make that catch in traffic and really get down the field. That's going to be critical because they can really take advantage of play action passes in this game, given the fact that the Browns are going to really bring the rush. And I think if they can somehow get the ball in the intermediate ways with the linebackers behind them, I think they can gain some yardage here. So I'm glad to see that Andrews is back right at the right moment for the biggest game of the season.
Mm-hmm. All right, gentlemen. So this is the real question of the game, in my opinion. And I'm really excited to get everyone's take here. Lamar Jackson has this narrative that's been building around him that he doesn't show up in big games and this, that, and the other. And there's a lot of anybody that's a Ravens fan, there's plenty of big games. I mean, think about when the lights were bright last year in a multitude of games. Just off the top of my head, that Rams game where he sent half the stands packing at the end of the first quarter, and a multitude of other games. But there's this narrative going around that when the moment gets big, Lamar chokes, right? Or he doesn't show up to play. So will Lamar Jackson step up in this game, or will the narrative live on? Now, I realize that even if he does step up, it's not an actual playoff game. So to some extent, the narrative will live on. But I guess the real question is, will Lamar Jackson step up and put an exclamation point on this game or not? What do you think, Tony?
Well, the narrative to me is silly because this is the guy's third year. He's had two playoff games. And, even with the Titans game last year, I thought he played as well as he could given the circumstances. However, to your point, there's been big games in the past for Lamar. I think this is a great opportunity for Lamar to have that breakout game. He feels refreshed. He's back from the COVID. He is now looking to make plays. You can just tell I know it was Dallas, and it's tough to really make that comparison. Dallas and Cleveland are two different football teams. I get that. But I think Lamar is excited about the opportunity. I can see Lamar really take advantage of that secondary that Cleveland has. And I also feel that Lamar is going to try to make plays on his own and try to do the things that he can do athletically. So I feel this is going to be a Lamar Jackson breakout game. Is it one of those games in the lights? Yeah, it will be because it's Monday night. So, yes, I feel that this is Lamar's game. And it's going to be a big one, and we'll talk about that in terms of what I expect out of him.
Nice, like
later
tease. On. Glenn, what are you thinking, man?
Yeah, I think this is a big game for him. I think you're right in the sense that even if he goes out and lights them up, then the narrative will just be, well, it's the Browns. It's the Browns. So the narrative will live on until he does something in the playoffs. But I think for his confidence, this game is much bigger than a lot of people are giving credit for. It seems like in a lot of these big games, you're starting to see now. You mentioned the bright lights. I'm not talking about bright. I'm talking about when expectations are, when it's a big matchup, an AFC type matchup. He hasn't always performed at his best. So you look at the Steelers game, you look at both the Chiefs games, the obviously both the playoff games. I worry that just from his confidence, if he starts stacking poor performances in all these big games, that when it does come to playoff time, that'll be in his head a little bit. So I think it's important just from a confidence standpoint that he does play well in this game. And I think obviously if he plays well, we win. So I think those kind of go hand in hand. But I do expect him to play well. I do expect us to run the ball well. And as long as we run the ball well, there's no reason why he doesn't have a good game because I think we play action off of it and just sets up easier throws. So I do think he'll have a good game, but I think this is an important game. But look, the Browns get that narrative too. They're still the Browns. So they're going to get
right.
that. Well, yeah, they're 9-3, but they're the Browns. So nobody takes them seriously. So that narrative is really actually more so on their side, I think, than on Lamar's. But it is on Lamar as well.
Yeah. I point to a couple things. So my answer to the question is yes, absolutely. I think Lamar Jackson will step up. And Tony, you mentioned this, is that I think what was really important for me in the Dallas game was two things. He was decisive when he decided to take off with the ball. You saw him plant his foot and head up field. And Glenn, you and I have been talking about, we don't want to see the East and West in the backfield. Yeah. Head up the field and go, whether you're getting 2 or 20 yards, just hit it. Because that's what we felt like he was doing last year. The other thing is that I loved seeing him laughing again, smiling again, right? Like just being happy. Now, I don't think him getting COVID was the best thing that could happen to him this year. But I think having an opportunity to decompress and having the game taken away from him for a little bit, he's referred to that year when he was academically ineligible to play his sophomore year in high school, and his mom made him train and things like that. But I think that how many kids are academically ineligible to play and still end up starting their true freshman year in college in a D1 university? But I think that honestly gave him an opportunity to step back and realize how much he loves the game. And I think in the same way, this is kind of, brought him back to life and just loving the game again and realizing how much he just loves playing football. He loves taking the hits. He loves, the contact. He loves it all. I think he loves the competition. Yeah. So I think Lamar's going to step up and have a huge game. I think he's going to outplay Baker and then some.
Well, I mean, I think you always expect him to outplay Baker. I mean,
that's not saying too much.
You're not a Baker guy. But Tony, I got one more offensive question I wanted to ask you.
Yes,
it's about
sure.
Hollywood has gotten he's kind of had an up and down season this year. He's made some really nice plays, some real incredible plays, but then he's also had some moments where he's still looking to avoid contact. Now, as of lately, Jimmy made a good point. Really, as of 2 games ago, it looks like he's stopping the clear avoidance of contact that we were seeing for the first year and a half. What are your expectations? He's still getting a ton of attention from the defense. He's still getting he's still leading our team in targets. What are your expectations of Hollywood, not just in this game, but moving forward?
Well, I want to continue to see him grow and progress as a route runner and really use his speed to his advantage. Yes, he's gotten bigger in the offseason. We saw that, but he's still a small receiver. And you kind of, people say, well, how come he can't be like a Tyreek Hill? Because no one's like Tyreek Hill. That's a different animal at this point. But Hollywood, he's on his way. He can certainly be really good in this league. He just needs to continue, to your point, catch the ball. And I got to tell you, the guy has fantastic hands. Amazing. I haven't seen him drop a lot of passes, I'll be honest with you. So he needs to build on that ability and continue to know that he can catch in traffic if he needs to and go up the field. And that's what's important. We see that out of Duvernay now. We see that out of him, how he just catches and goes. And that's what I want to see him do. But my expectation for Hollywood Brown is to continue to do what you're doing, run your routes, get open, because Lamar's looking for you. Lamar wants you to succeed. And as long as you can get yourself in a position to be open, he's going to throw the ball to you. You got to be able to catch it and make a play. And that's what I want him to do. We need a playmaker like that. He made a play for us, of course, in that Dallas game. Beautiful catch in the corner of the end zone. That was a great throw, but also a great catch on his part as well.
Yeah, it's a good thing for Hollywood is he knows at least he can feel pretty confident this season. And I think next season as well, he's always going to get a bunch of targets because he's friends with Lamar. I mean, there's no doubt that makes a difference. When I played backyard football and stuff, one of my best friends was the quarterback. Well, I got a lot of throws my way because he liked me. So I think that he at least has a low target floor. I mean, a high target floor. So that obviously raises his ceiling. But Jimmy, I got a question. We want to switch to the other side of the ball because I think we touched briefly on Mr. Nick Chubb. But, man, I want to expand a little more. This is a good game to get a healthy front back because, my goodness gracious, they have 2 number 1 running backs behind a fantastic offensive line. And, man, this guy, their head coach,
Stefanski,
Kevin Stefanski, thank you. Man, he likes to call run plays, Jimmy. He does not mess around. He doesn't want Baker throwing the ball 50 times. He gives it to his 2-star running backs. And, man, Chubb and Kareem Hunt are terrifying. How confident are you? Calais, we expect him to be back, right? I know he's missed practice. We expect him to play. Judon and Ngakoue, can they not just slow him down, but I think they got to do more than just – I think they got to make Baker throw the ball. They got to make the offense one-dimensional. Can they do it?
Yeah, this is a really tough one for me because the homer in me wants to say yes, but I remember on the show the last time I said I'm not really worried about other teams' rushing attacks was the Patriots game.
Oh.
Or no, excuse me, it wasn't the Patriots game, it was the Titans game, and that's when Henry, either way, both teams burnt us in the rushing game. Henry, of course, with that touchdown in overtime. So I kind of don't want to say it because there could be a jinx. No, I'm just kidding. But to be honest with you, yeah, exactly. So I do feel like we are in this is how I answer. We are in the best position that we can possibly be in to have the best chance to stop Nick Chubb, and Kareem Hunt. Why do I say that? Simply because Calais Campbell had a ramp-up game against the Cowboys. We already saw what type of an impact Brandon Williams has when he's in the game. Had a ramp-up game against the Cowboys as well. These big guys, I think, I could be totally wrong. I'm not a doctor, but I feel like they take a little longer to recover from COVID based on, their size. And then also Calais is no, young guy as far as like NFL terms go. He's 34 years old and asthmatic. So, those are also concerns. So I think that was a big deal. If this would have been his first game or their first game back, I would have been less confident. But now this is their second, got their legs under him a little bit. Excuse me. And then Wolf is back. The Judon is back. Or sorry, Wolf is healthy in this one, and Judon is back. So we have the full complement of weapons. I feel confident that we can contain Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt in the attack, in the rushing attack, and make Baker beat us. I do feel confident in that.
Yeah, I think to your point with the containment issue, I think that's what's important. We're not necessarily going to stop him from. I think he can easily get 50 to 60 to 75 yards on anybody. That's not the question. But I want to point to a couple of players who I felt they really stepped up on that line. Jihad Ward this past Tuesday had, I think he had three quarterback hits, and he had the sack. He's been playing well in the absence of, let's say, or when he was coming in and out with Brandon, or even with Derek Wolfe. But I want to give him a lot of credit because he's played well, because he's been the guy now that has gotten more reps. And I thought that he looked very good in that Dallas game. And the other, and Derek Wolfe, I mean, he's been the lone wolf over the last 4 games. He's been the guy. I mean, I think at one point, I think he's the last 3 or 4 weeks, he's leading the team in tackles. So it's just one of those kind of things where he's stepping up. He knows how to get off blocks really quickly and make tackles. And that's what's going to be critical in this game, is that these defensive linemen, all of them, Calais Campbell, Brent, they're going to have to get off their blocks quickly to get to that running back and not get caught up into that. Callahan, who is their offensive line coach, has done a remarkable job with this Browns line as of late. But the Ravens, I think, have more depth now, where they can now run guys at them and really kind of loosen up that offensive line. So, no, that's a great point you make, Jimmy. I just was so impressed with Jihad Ward and what he's been doing over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, he's been he certainly sparked that pass rush, and he looked like he was fired up, and he looked like he wanted some more playing time, some more snaps, and he certainly looked like he deserved it. Well, let's say the Ravens are able to slow down that insane backfield and put the ball in Baker's hands. Man, it looked like the Titans tried to do that last week, and he kind of burned them. I mean, he went 25 of 33 for 334 yards and 4 touchdowns, and I believe he was AFC Player of the Week. The guy was really good. He did have a fumble, but Jimmy, if they are able to stop him, I know you're not the biggest Baker fan, but I mean, does when you hear those numbers, does that start to worry you a little bit?
No. No, it's just that simple. No, but the biggest reason is not because it's Baker. Regardless of who the quarterback is, I have belief in the matchups that we have against those receivers. If we're containing them in the rushing attack and making them throw, they're playing into our hands, because I think we have the best secondary in the NFL. So regardless of the quarterback, it could be Aaron Rodgers back there, I would still feel good about making any team one-dimensional, not have a rushing attack, with playing into our strength being our secondary defensively. You got Marlon is playing lights out. Peters is always around the ball. And I know he's kind of been up and down, but he's always making big plays and big moments. And then I think our safeties as a tandem are relatively underrated. Deshaun Elliott makes you pay and makes you remember his name every time he's out there.
Yes, he does.
He really gets physical in there. And Chuck Clark is always in the right place at the right time, Mr. Consistent. So I guess I feel confident in that. If we can contain them, regardless of the quarterback, I would feel really good about our chances of winning that game.
Yeah, and I think with Jimmy Smith back, if he comes back, hopefully, and again, we know the history of Jimmy Smith and the injuries that he's had over the years. And, man, when we needed him the most, that injury bug really kind of crept in. But if he can come back in this game, that's going to be critical, because the receiving core for the Browns, they're not bad. They're not bad. I mean, obviously we know about Landry. We know about Higgins, who's been playing well as of late. And then they have this guy with 2 last names now, Peoples-Jones, who actually is looking pretty decent. But I think with Jimmy in the fold, that will kind of free up Marcus Peters. Now, if Marcus wants to play that, okay, I'm going to go hunt, then that'll allow Marcus to really kind of do that in that mode, because I think Marcus one-on-one is a liability for us in a lot of times. He's physical, but he can be a liability because I think he wants to make a play. But with Jimmy back, I think that's certainly going to help this secondary. And if he's back, I really, to your point, Jimmy, I have a lot more confidence in being able to contain Baker in terms of maybe limiting some of this, some of his throws, maybe keeping everything in front and not getting beat deep. And that's my main concern. Don't get beat deep.
No
This is a bend, don't break type of defense. So that's my thing that I want to see is Jimmy back.
Yeah, they certainly used the big play last week to move the ball down the field. But I want to point out a couple of guys that worry me in this one. And it's not in their receiving room. It's in their tight end room. They love to use tight ends, and Stefanski, he's been doing it since he was in Minnesota, and he's doing it again this year. They have a couple guys in there with I'm blanking on this.
Austin Hooper.
There we go. Austin. There it is.
Hooper.
Thank you. Austin Hooper and Harrison Bryant is the name I was looking for. He's got 16 catches on the year with 3 touchdowns. He's an athletic guy. But yeah, I think Hooper, the guy they gave a bazillion dollars to in the offseason, is starting to pay off. He's got 30 catches on the year, second on the team behind Landry. I'm a little worried about our linebacking core. Patrick Queen, he's had some games where he's really looked good, but he's also had some games in coverage where you see guys waving him back, like you're trying to get him to go back in coverage, and you see guys running wide open underneath. I just worry that when he's asked to cover a lot, which I think he's going to be in this game with these tight ends, that he can sometimes get lost, especially when he's asked to play zone. He sticks with a guy too long, carries him out of his zone, and then his zone is left vacant, and a guy fills it and has not only catches the ball, but has plenty of room to run around him to make some yards after catch. So look out for their tight end group. They love to run the ball, but they also love to play action off of it. And when these tight ends, they come out in a lot of 2 tight end sets, they can get lost in the wash, and all of a sudden they're wide open on the sideline, running down for a first down or a touchdown. So watch more so the tight ends, in my opinion, in this game than even their talented receiving core.
Well, and that's why I think that Jimmy's health is going to be a big one in this game as well, because I know that he's, we've matched him up on occasion against those tight ends, being that he is a big physical corner that we've talked about before. But I think that, like you mentioned, Tony, I think based on a guy like Austin Hooper, I'd love to be able to, do our very best and matching up with him with a guy like Jimmy Smith. So, we'll hope that he's back as well.
Yeah, and he also
and Glenn makes a good point.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, it's okay. I was going to say you make a good point, Glenn, because, I'm kind of picturing LJ Fort being there for run support. And I think he's been playing well, but I think he's there for run support. And now this is going to be a big game for Patrick Queen and Harrison to really, really, use your speed. I mean, you two guys, more so Queen, but, stick with these tight ends. Don't let them get behind you and really play well, because LJ Fort, I think, will be so busy trying to help support the run that I think Queen's going to be left on an island, to your point, Glenn. I think those tight ends, and they have a good group, to your point. It's going to be a challenge, and that could be where that can really tip this game if we don't really do enough. I'm not too worried about the receiving core with our secondary intact. But to your point, Glenn, great point about Queen maybe getting lost a little bit, although he's having a really good season as a rookie. You've got to give him credit. But to your point, that could be a liability in this game.
Yeah, he just hasn't seen a ton, and these offensive coordinators are just so creative, and it's just got to be so. Yeah, it's got to be tough as a guy like Queen. I'm sure he's asked, all right, now look here. Now, if this guy gets the ball, you got to go with him. But if he fakes it to him, now you got to go over here. It's like he's got so much going on, and there's guys crisscrossing in front of him. I mean, it's an incredibly hard job, and for a rookie who didn't play much in college, with just really the 1 year at LSU where he got a lot of clock. He's definitely learning on the job, and I expect him to continue to get better. But, Jimmy, I wanted to ask you a question about the pass rush. I was disappointed in the pass rush last week. A Dallas offensive line that was in shambles. They just lost their all-pro Martin the week before. They got Andy Dalton in there. Ezekiel Elliott's having his worst year right now, his worst healthy year as a pro. And we get 1 sack from Jihad Ward in the second half. And to me, Andy Dalton, it's not like Andy Dalton was getting rid of the ball incredibly fast. he just wasn't being harassed at all by our pass rush. Now, I know Judon was out and missed greatly, but a lot of fans kind of are hard on Judon, saying, he can't get it done. Well, were we missing Judon more than we thought we would? And will him being back in the lineup resurrect the pass rush?
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I think that we definitely were missing Judon a little bit more than even I, I'll honestly admit that I anticipated. But actually what I saw from that game was I saw a lot of missed opportunities. Not that we weren't getting them. We weren't in the proximity, we weren't in proximity to the quarterback. I mentioned this in our last show. It seemed like Ngakoue got there a couple times and just whiffed. He just whiffed coming down on, because, smartly, rightly so, he's going after the ball. He's not looking to really, you're going to hit the quarterback too, but he's going after the ball. And there's two occasions that come to my mind. One of them in the red zone where he just totally overshot it. And when he was swiping down, just whiffed. And so if you got to when you get there, you got to finish. Right. So that's what I expect to happen.
Yeah. I was going to tell you, according to the next gen stats, and it's interesting because we played these two quarterbacks in a row now. Ben, of course, has the quickest release as a quarterback. He gets the ball out, and I think the number is 2.6, somewhere around there. Andy Dalton is second in the league getting the ball out. He's at 2.58 or 2. He's somewhere there. I think Ben is actually at 2.29, but Andy Dalton's at 2.58 because I was kind of concerned about that pass rush too. And I had to figure out what is going on. How come we're not getting to him? It's like a split second here or there. But Andy Dalton was making sure that he got rid of the ball very, very quickly. That's why they were getting those routes behind the linebackers, those out routes. There was a lot of those.
Timing routes.
He's been doing that since his time in it was getting on my nerves. I was like, can we not get this guy down? But then I realized he's getting the ball out pretty quick. He knew that he needed to avoid the sacks. And so maybe that might have been the case. And I think with the Judon, with him not being there, I think that's also a big part of it. I expect to see a little bit of a better situation because Baker doesn't necessarily get rid of the ball quickly. He likes to hold on to it a little bit, wait for the plays to develop. So we might see a little bit of a different type of situation here.
Yeah, Glenn, look, you got to remember there's only one Russell Wilson, and Baker ain't him. And he tries
Mahomes.
to be. And he tries to be.
Russell didn't look so good last week against the G-Men at home, losing despite being a double-digit favorite.
You're right, but I mean, as far as rolling around in the pocket forever, he really tries to look like Russ, and he's just not.
Yeah, all I'm saying is, he got the Andy Dalton. But look, we weren't even. To me, you say we were barely missing a swipe. So to me, he missed the swipe, but he wasn't going to tackle him. Andy Dalton was able to climb into the pocket, and he was pushed by. So he missed the swipe, but the swipe. I mean, I don't know. I don't count that as like, man, he had him in his grips and then he falls.
Right.
He missed a slap at the ball. But I don't know. I wasn't impressed with the pass rush. They were having guys in the block and they were getting the ball quick. And I know we weren't pressing the receivers and kind of giving them those quick plays. But to me, I was expecting more out of our pass rush than one sack by Jihad Ward.
Yeah. That's a great point. But so what we're going to get into last week, for all of you guys who remember, we posed a challenge to predict our starting 5 offensive line names and positions, because that's been a weekly thing. This week, we're going to change it up because we're going to hope that we don't have to do that anymore, that our offensive line stays the same.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do this time. Yeah, exactly. Give us back-to-back weeks of consistency once, right? That's all we're asking for. No, we'd like more, but we'll start with that.
Yeah.
But now what we've found interesting is that when the 3 main running backs are healthy, excluding Justice Hill at this point, sorry, Justice, whether it's Mark
or Justice.
Mark, Gus, no justice for Justice. Mark, Gus, or J.K. Dobbins, our question to you is who is going to get the first rushing attempt of those 3 of the game? Not the most yards, not the most carries, the first one. So the winner, of course, will get a shout out on the show. Props from us. Tony, I'm going to have you give your first guess, Glenn, and then I'll go last. So Tony, what's your guess?
Oh, I think it's going to be Big Trust. Woo. It's going to be Mark. They seem to like to use Ingram initially first as a veteran. I get it. So they'll run him out first and see what he can do to kind of get a sense of where the offensive line is set. So I think it's going to be Mark Ingram.
All right.
All right, yeah, I wouldn't be shocked there. For me, I'm going to go JK. I think this is the week we finally see JK unleash, and I'll get into more of that later. But I think JK gets the first carry. But please, whoever it is, let's see the running backs get some carries early on. I don't want to see any of this. Let's outsmart ourselves, Greg Roman, by emptying them out and throwing it right off the. Just give it to one of them, please. What about you?
Yeah, so that's funny because we did not plan this, and I'm picking Gus.
Wow, look at that. Look at
The
that.
reason I'm picking Gus Edwards is simple. 7 carries, 101 yards. It would be a crime against humanity to not give this man the ball starting out the game. I mean, what else can he do?
Man, he looked faster than I ever remember seeing Gus last week. I mean,
and
that burst down the sideline was incredible. And then, he just finishes it by crushing the defender into the dirt and not running out of bounds.
Yeah, DBs want nothing to do with Gus Edwards when he gets ahead of steam.
Yeah, Gus is interesting. He's a very soft-spoken person too, by the way. And hearing him with some of the interviews, he's very soft-spoken. He doesn't really, but to see his power and then to see his mobility and his agility, it's something special. This guy is special. He really is.
Yeah, having JK is one heck of a 1-2 punch next year. But we got unfinished business this year, so we're not going to get into next yet. But keys to the game, Jimmy. I want to know your offense, and I'll save or you can save the defense for later. What's your offensive key?
Sure. So you said it, Glenn. Don't overcomplicate it. KISS, right? Keep it simple, stupid. That's the best advice that Michael Scott gave to Dwight Schrute and Greg Roman. I now give it to you. Okay? Keep it simple. Nothing wrong with sending Gus up the A gap. First down, second down, and not if I see an empty backfield on third down, our first time with the ball, our first drive, I'm gonna throw my remote at the television. I don't want to see it. I don't even care if it's a 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 30. I don't want an empty backfield on third down. It just doesn't make sense to me, especially when we're really trying to stay out on the field. And I mean, we're always trying to stay out on the field, but that drive is a tone setter, and it can be psychologically, positive or negative coming out of the gate. So keep it simple. That's my key to the game offensively.
All right, Tony.
Well, I'm going to say I'll protect the football. Again, there was a little bit of a snafu with the fumble with Dallas when Lamar kind of misjudged where the snap was, and JK fortunately jumped on the ball, but that could have been a devastating situation for the Ravens. That was a momentum killer. So protect the football, sustain drives. I mean, very simple. Do what you do best. Run the football, take up time of possession. Do not allow Cleveland, if you get the ball first, I want to see Cleveland with the ball with 9 minutes or 8 minutes in the first quarter. That's we're up 7-0. That's what I want to see, because that's important. You sustain drive. Convert on third downs, especially if it's third and short. You got to get those conversions. Keep Sam Cook on the sideline. The guy doesn't punt that much. He hasn't punted that much in the last three or four games. Keep him on the sideline. That, to me, is important in this game, is to sustain drives, keep the ball out of Baker's hands, and let's just run the ball as we normally do with the time of possession. So that's really my keys on offense.
Nice.
Yeah, I think Jimmy wants to when they're on offense, he wants the ball in Baker's hand. Only when they're on offense, though. Not
when they're on offense.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So for me, it's all about conversions, and it starts with the red zone. I think that the place where quarterbacks are graded the most harshly is third down and red zone, and that's where Lamar was out of this world last year. I mean, absolutely incredible on third down and converting in the red zone. This year, the red zone, not so good for the Ravens. They're just 55%. They've been in the red zone 40 times and have only scored a touchdown on 22 of those 40 drives. That's a problem, especially when you look over at Cleveland, and they've also been there 40 times, but yet they've converted 28 of those times into touchdowns. So at a 70% rate compared to our 55. So to me, once you get to the red zone, you got to finish that drive. You can't be settling for field goals, or in last week's case, a missed field goal, because this Baker-led offense for the Browns is pretty tough. And so for me, it's all about converting third down and, more importantly, red zone. All right, Jimmy, defense, what do you got?
All right. So this is what I'm going to say. Our defensive key to the game is make Baker Mayfield do his best impersonation of Russell Wilson. So if he's running around, holding it around he's running around the backfield, holding the ball 5-6 seconds, I feel really good about our chances. Really what I'm trying to say is make him think twice, make him see some ghosts, make him hesitate a little bit where he's got to pull it down once, do his little spin around and then try and truck it down the field. Because as soon as he starts doing those things and tries to be a Deshaun Watson, Russell Wilson type guy, the game's over. We got it won because he's going to give it up twice. He's going to fumble once. He's going to get a ton of sacks. So if we can just get him hesitating, just get him thinking twice, I think it will go light years in this game for us.
All right, Tony.
Yeah, certainly that is key. The impersonation made me laugh. Also on defense, really just create the turnovers as they really have been doing all year. They've been creating the turnovers, meaning the punch outs, meaning the interceptions, tip balls. I think it's going to be important to try to, because Baker's, he really throws on a line. He's not really an archy thrower. So if we can get the hands up, tip the ball, get a pick here or there, that's going to help change the momentum. And again, I mentioned stop the run. We're not going to necessarily stop the run per se, but as long as we can contain it, I don't want to take Glenn's thunder because I think that's his, is in terms of just contain it, keep it to a minimum, maybe 3 yards, 2.5 yards to carry. I think that's going to help. But I think that the turnovers are going to be critical. If we can get 1 or 2 just by creating those, that's going to be very, very it's going to bode well for us, in terms of, I want to see Marlon with another punch out. I miss those. I want to see another one. I love those. So and then the whole team does it too, by the way. The whole secondary is kind of taking that same sort of stance. They punch balls. That's just what they do. Get a couple of those to fall our way. That will be awesome on defense.
Let's send them some shirts. We punch balls.
Yeah, we punch.
Did you just make that up just then on the spot? That's good. That's actually good. Book
We
it.
punch balls. There you go. That'll be our new swag coming out in 2021. We punch balls. I just hope they don't punch them out of bounds anymore, because last few they got punched, they went out of bounds. Yeah, we want to see
It's
them.
like benefiting the offense. I'm like, come on, man. Jeez whiz.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, to me, it's slowing down the run, but more importantly, to slow down the run is to force them into long third downs. But I think if you force them to long third downs, that's where you can get to Baker. And you pointed this out before the show, Jimmy, when we were discussing their careers. Baker has a ton of interceptions in his short career. I mean, an insane amount. Like, you have to be a high pick to be given that many pass attempts, to have that many interceptions in just the third year of your career. I mean, it's insane. So I think that the big thing is to get them into third and medium to long is the big thing here, because man, if they're able to run the ball and then play action off of it, it could be a very, very long day for the Ravens. So forcing them to 3rd and 5 or longer, I think, makes all the difference in the world. They're only converting third downs at a 43% rate right now. Not great, not one of the tops in the league. Keep it like that. Get them off the field, and let's just dominate time of possession.
42, ladies and gentlemen. 42 interceptions in his career.
And how many games do you have games played?
I don't have games played in front of me. Maybe I can find it. But just to give you some context around that, Lamar Jackson, 16.
Yeah.
16.
And unless Baker didn't even start his. Their careers are very similar, because I know Tyrod started there, and as well as Flacco here.
Right. Yeah. So definitely some similarity. They've got to be only a few games apart. Baker has 11 more touchdowns, but he has way more interceptions. I mean, that's just insane. Yeah. So let's get into our individual big game predictions, and then we'll end it with our scores. We have, of course, one offensive, one defensive. We'll run through offensively just like we just did, and then run through defensively. Glenn, I'll let you kick it off this time. Who is your big game player for this game coming up on the offensive side of the ball?
Oh, I teased it a little earlier, but I'm going to go ahead and say it now. J.K. Dobbins, this is his coming out party. He goes over 100 yards on the ground. He adds a couple catches out of the backfield as well. This is the game where we finally stop with the who's going to get the most carries, this and that. No. J.K.'s going to get a stranglehold on this rush attack, and he's going to take over. And from now until the rest of the season, he will be the leading ball carrier. That's right. Not the great Gus, not the aging great leader,
not
Mark
the
Ingram.
bus.
No, not the bus. It's going to be J.K., and he's going to show out. He's going to go over 100, and he's going to add 2 catches for over 25 yards out of the backfield. How about you, Jim?
Wow. All right, so my guy is, and I said this a little bit earlier, but I'm going with Mark Andrews. I think he's going to have a huge game coming back based on their struggles in the red zone and his history against the Browns. I feel like he's always played well if you look back. He's going to have 7 catches, 2 touchdowns, and 85 yards. I think Lamar Jackson is going to be so excited, like a kid in a candy store, to get his running mate Mark Andrews back. Can't wait to see him out there. And so I think he'll be generous in his targets to his big tight end. What about you, Tony?
Well, I'll take those 85 yards and add an additional maybe 180 yards to that, because that's what Lamar Jackson is going to throw. Over 250 yards in this game, maybe 260, 270, and he's going to rush for 100 yards. So he's going to do what he did, I think, twice last year. And look, Lamar Jackson, again, to your point, coming off with the COVID, missing his teammates for the last couple of weeks. I heard him today, and I just felt like he is ready to play. He looked extremely efficient in that down. He was off the throws because I think he was still feeling ill. I thought that Troy Aikman was thinking that, he's not accurate. I mean, the guys that he threw the ball like it was a dime. So let's stop this. Is he accurate? The guy can throw, but I will tell you, he will throw for 250, rush for 100. We'll see the old Lamar Jackson. Old Lamar is kind of crazy to say because the guy's only 23 now, going on 20. Yeah. The old Lamar
Lamar
will come back and will really have. Yeah, he will have his best overall game of the season and really kind of duplicate what he did in that first game against Cleveland in terms of the yardage, but also rush for 100 yards. So it's going to be a pretty big offensive day, according to what me and you were saying, Jimmy. I mean, it's going to be, this team may have over 400 yards in offense, according to what, I mean, so we'll see. But yeah, I do like that.
Yeah, I don't know if it's possible for all of us to be right at the same time, because if Dobbins goes over 100 on the ground, Lamar goes over 100 on the ground.
I was just talking about 400.
Yeah.
I mean, could you imagine 480 yards of total offense with this team against the Browns?
That would be awesome. Yeah. All right. Well, let's get into our score then. I think.
Wait, we got to go defensive.
Oh,
defensive
sorry. Look at me jumping ahead. All right. Well, I'll start then, because I think Matt Judon comes in this game with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, a little bit of something to prove, and maybe, hey, look, guys, don't forget about me. You missed me, and now I'm back. I think he gets 2 sacks against Baker. I think they're big sacks. I think one of them, he might even knock the ball loose, Jimmy. Maybe a completed swipe. We saw some missed swipes last week. Maybe he gets one. But I do think he gets 2 sacks and leads the team in that category. How about you?
Yeah, so I've been saying this, and I'm staying on the unique train, if you will. I might be, but look, Murphy's law of average. One of these days, it's got even a dead clock is right twice, right?
That's right.
So I'm calling it 2 sacks and a strip sack for Unique Ngakoue. He's got this. I feel really good about it. I think that the return of Judon will help him. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, they have a rookie out at left tackle who might, while he's probably had some tough matchups, I think that Unique Ngakoue is one of the faster guys coming off the edge. Might take some time for him to adjust to that. And I think Ngakoue will beat him a couple times and get to the quarterback. Old Baker's going to be back there trying to be Russell Wilson, and Unique's going to get to him. Yeah. So who you got, Tony?
Well, speaking of Baker acting like Russell, and certainly he's going to scramble, and then he's going to throw an errant pass, and it's going to fall right in the hands of Chuck Clark. I think he's going to get a big pick at the right time in this game when the Ravens need it. Maybe it's a drive that Cleveland has sustained for a few minutes, and then on a third down play, third and maybe 15, Baker's going to get wild, and Chuck Clark's going to get a pick. And not a pick six, but just get a pick at the right time. But I think you're going to see a lot of, hopefully he's the first of maybe 2 or 3 turnovers in this game for the Ravens. But I think Chuck Clark's been itching. He's been really close lately in some of these games, and I want to see him get a pick because he's earned it, that's for sure. With everything that's going on, him stepping into that role and really being that guy. So I see him with a pick in this game.
Right.
Not a bold prediction, but, listen, we can't all be right.
It's about time somebody's right, because
hopefully we are.
All our predictions, we're way off. I mean, we haven't been right in a prediction in a long time. But I think you're right about Chuck Clark's pick. I think it's going to be a batted ball at the line like we saw last week with Brandon Williams and Patrick Queen. So yeah, I agree with you. All right, Jimmy, the score.
Yes.
What's it going to be? Who's going to win?
Yeah, I'm going Ravens win, of course. I'm going 27-24. Ravens win at the end. I think just to add a little bit of context here, I think that the experience of our coaching staff late in the season, December football, outside of course, the talent we have on the field, but that will make the difference to edge it out between the game management, and of course, how we utilize Justin Tucker, field position. 27-24. Baltimore Ravens beat Baker Mayfield and the Cleveland Browns.
Wow. All right. Well, I'll jump in now. Let Tony finish this off here. I'm going to go 31-28 Ravens, and I think this game comes down to a missed field goal for the Browns. We saw a bunch of missed field goals in that Dallas game, and I think that, I tell you what, it makes you thankful to have, even though Tucker did miss one. Every time I watch games around the league, I see missed field goals left and right, and it's got to drive people crazy. And I think this one bites the Browns in this one. I think they miss a key late field goal, and that's a big help for the Ravens win 31-28. Tony, what do you got?
Yeah, I have a similar score to Jimmy, 27-20, pretty much the same thing. I think, this game will kind of be nip and tuck in the first quarter, maybe the first half, in fact. And I think in the second half, things will start to kind of move forward with the Ravens. So I can see, this game being tight in the first half, and all of the pundits on Monday Night Football will start to say, look at the Browns, they're doing. And then Lamar and company will just take over the second half. And that run game is just going to be murderous to that defense in the third quarter. At the end of the third quarter, going to the fourth, Ravens win by a touchdown, 27-20.
Nice. You're going to start smelling that diesel exhaust coming out of that Gus bus in the second half, right?
Diesel exhaust.
Just like you're a kid walking up to school and all the buses are there and you can smell all the exhaust.
Yeah,
that's
right.
Gus,
Smell the
man.
fumes.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I can't wait.
I think Lamar. Yeah, I can't wait. I think Lamar is just going to have a great game on Monday Night Football. I think this is his chance to kind of show. And again, he's done this in big games in the regular season. But I think he just gets so misunderstood that it's not just about the playoffs. And I get it; those are the most important games. But I know with the Chiefs that he's got to figure that out. He will. I know with the Steelers this year, he's got to figure. But the bottom line is that this is a Monday night game. And last year he shined in these type of games, so I see him doing it again this year.
Well, you guys give us your thoughts. Let us know what you think. Give us your score. Also, make sure to respond to our challenge. Who is going to be the first? Who's going to get the first carry out of the running backs of the game? And we'll give you a shout out on the show. Look forward to hearing your responses, and we will talk to you guys soon.
See you guys.